Good morning. Let me get my Instagram live on. Start streaming. There we go. Good morning. Welcome back to Fit Body Secrets, where my mission is to bring you guys inspiration, motivation, tips, and education to help you guys on your fitness and your fat loss journey. And today, I thought it would be a great topic to talk a little bit about body recomposition. This is a big topic. I get a lot of people on my nutrition coaching applications are like, I'd like to lose body fat, but I also want to build some lean muscle tissue. Or I get questions about how you should be eating or training to see body recomp. And I want to explain a little bit about body composition and also how to quote unquote recomp your body if that is what you are looking for. And in fact, I'll be honest, I mean, that's like the holy grail, right? Like you're getting leaner, you're getting fitter, you're getting stronger. I think everybody at the end of the day should want body recomposition. I'm going to talk a lot about body composition today, training and nutrition for recomp, and also talk a little bit about some myths, misconceptions, and even mistakes that you might be making that are hindering your body's ability to quote unquote recomp. So let's talk first and foremost about body composition. I don't know why my cat, whenever I am on my computer, he just wants to come up here and be in my face and on my computer. So if you guys start to see my computer screen moving, that's because my cat wants to rub up on my computer screen. Just he loves the attention, I guess. So let's talk about body composition. Let's talk about what it actually is. So if you've ever had an in-body scan done, a DEXA scan done, maybe even had caliper tested done, what that is actually measuring is the ratio of your fat mass to your fat-free mass. Your fat-free mass is not just skeletal muscle, which is often a misconception. People think that when you're getting your fat-free mass, they're like, oh my God, I have 120 pounds of fat-free muscle. Like, no, you have to remember fat-free mass is also your bones, your skin, your organs, any food that's in your digestive tract. That's all part of your body composition as well, along with water. So what you're seeing on these body composition tests are the ratio of your fat mass to your fat-free mass. And of that, you have, like I said, the skeletal muscle and all that stuff. This is a much better metric in terms of overall health than just your body weight or even your body mass index. The body mass index used to be how people would look to measure health if your weight was in a healthy range. And if you have a considerable amount of muscle and you are relatively lean, it might make you look like you're higher on a BMI spectrum. So for instance, right now, I have very low body fat percentage, but on a BMI scale, I am ideal weight. I am like right in the middle, maybe even borderline on the higher side of a BMI scale. But I actually need to gain some weight to be at a healthier place for my body. So it's why it's really important to look not just at the scale as well, because the scale is only measuring how much you weigh. You can see fluctuations in the scale on a daily basis based on hormones, based on stress, based on inflammation, based on how well your gut is moving and all that stuff. So body composition is really the overall goal. And that's why in a lot of my posts, I know that a lot of people are looking to lose weight. My primary client is somebody looking to lose 20 plus pounds, and you're trying to get fitter and healthier, and you need to do that. But I don't focus so much on losing body weight. I focus a lot of my content on talking about body fat because I want my clients to lose body fat, not just weight. I don't want anybody to lose lean muscle tissue. Muscle is the organ of longevity, and we want to maintain that weight. So I want to go over some things specific to that today because that is the overall goal. Body recomposition is what you guys should all be striving for overall health and well-being. Even where I'm at in my journey, and I can talk about what I'm doing right now. So that's a little bit of a backstory about body composition. And if you've never had a body comp test done, good morning, Collie. Coffee with Coach Cheryl today. If you've never had a body composition test done, none of them are going to be 100% accurate. The DEXA scan is probably going to be your most accurate, but also the hardest to access. So the in-body is probably the most easy to access on a regular basis. Most gyms will have one. They usually don't charge a whole bunch. There's one locally that does it here for me, and I think it costs like $20. But whenever you're getting a body composition test done, you want to make sure that the variables are consistent and the same. So you never want to go into a body composition test after you've worked out, after you've had a bunch of food, if you're super dehydrated. The ideal situation is that you are doing it under repeatable conditions. So typically doing it maybe on a day after a rest day where your nutrition was pretty routine. You didn't eat out, have a bunch of sodium. You wake up in the morning, you have a little bit of water, you go right to the in body and you get it done. That would be the most ideal situation. If you want my opinion, I actually am currently partnered with Hume Health, and they also have a really cool body fat scale. And if you are somebody that is looking to take it a little bit more seriously and don't want to have to worry about going to find an in-body if you don't have that, I do find that of all of the at-home scales, this one tends to be the closest to my actual body fat percentage that was measured on a DEXA scan and also on an in-body. So I feel like it's probably the most accurate of them. And it's easy enough because I can do it now on my own in my house and measure changes. At the end of the day, that's what you're looking to measure. You're not looking to measure how low or how high your body fat percentage is. It's measuring the data changes. That's going to show you how your body is quote unquote recomping. Okay, so what exactly is body recomposition? I think that it depends on the person you're asking because everybody's going to have their own definition of what they're looking for. But essentially, it's I want to lose this layer of fat, this layer of fluff, but I also would like to build some lean muscle tissue. I don't want to sacrifice muscle tissue. I want to also I want to lose fat, but I want to keep that. Although some women who are underweight or under muscled, I like to call it, need to actually gain muscle. And they also are looking for body recomposition. However, they're going about it the wrong way. And that's kind of where I'm going to talk about what we need to talk about with body recomposition is it always is that goal, decreasing our body fat percentage. But there's two ways we can do that. Okay. So if you have a good amount of muscle tissue on you already, so like people that have been training for a lot of years, you've built up a lot of strength and muscle, you might be carrying excess body fat. You might be close to your genetic potential on muscle building. However, you might be carrying excess body fat. So your main focus should be to improve your body fat percentage. You're looking to go into a calorie deficit to cut body fat while maintaining your lean muscle mass. Now, like I mentioned, if you're somebody who is underweight and you have a high body fat percentage, because you can be underweight or at a low body weight and have a high body fat percentage, you might actually need to increase your muscle mass while not putting on more body fat percentage or more body fat. So this is where you have to see what end of the spectrum you are on. And the best way to tell is to get an in-body test done, but it's also looking at your body weight as well. And this is where the other metrics can sometimes help you. So for instance, if you're somebody that you're looking in the mirror and you don't look quote unquote toned, or you're not seeing the definition that you're looking for, your weight's in a healthy range, your BMI is in a healthy range, you might actually need to be, okay, I need to stay at the same weight, but I need to actually work on putting on muscle mass. Like that should be your primary goal. You know, that's where those numbers can sometimes help you a little bit. And hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. If it doesn't, you guys can always pop some questions. I'll keep looking over on Instagram as well to see if you guys have any other questions there on this stuff. So you have to see what end of the spectrum you're on. Okay. If you're under, you need to build a little bit of muscle mass. If you're over, you've got a good amount of muscle mass. Your goal is maintaining while losing that body fat. So for the most people, the majority of people, unfortunately in America, we are on the over side of things because food is good. Food is good. Food is good. And skipping the gym is good. And not caring about having the extra serving of tortilla chips is good, right? Like it's dialing in the nutrition for fat loss that becomes hard, but there are some ways to do it to make it easier. Okay. So let's first talk about optimizing for these things and allowing you to actually see how to make sustainable changes. So nutrition. All right. So depending on which end of the spectrum you are on, I'm going to speak first to those of you guys that like, I need to drop some body fat. All right. We need to create a calorie deficit. Okay. If you are on the other end of the spectrum, you're like, I want to put on some lean tissue, but I don't want to put on body fat. We need to make sure we're eating at calorie maintenance and occasionally a little bit of a calorie surplus. So like your goals are like to push the limits a little bit to allow muscle building. Now, I am not the girl that's going to tell you to put on 10 pounds of fat just to have to lose it. I have PTSD from fat loss. Nobody else should have to deal with PTSD from fat loss. You should never have to worry about losing weight again. Like that is the goal. If you have to shed like 5 pounds because you maybe had a vacation or whatever, like that's a different story. But there is no need to bulk and cut. Like Just that shit just like fucking drives me crazy. Unless you are in the sport of bodybuilding, where that is part of their season. That's exactly what they do, is they go through seasons. You should never have to do that unless your goal is to be on a stage for that purpose. Okay. Y'all are looking for general health and fitness. You are not going to those extremes to get that extreme shredded for a freaking show. Stop thinking of your diet like that. Okay. The goal is lose the fat and never have to lose the fat again. In fact, even if you think you need to put on muscle and you're carrying extra fat, I'm also okay with you saying, okay, let me get as lean as I need to get and then stay there while I build muscle. That also can help you guys if you're like looking to get that definition. Okay. So nutrition is the key. All right. That is like literally like if you don't have the nutrition dialed in, all the training in the world is not going to do you any good. I mean, I guess if you are under muscled, yes, if you're not caring about what you're eating and you're eating enough, you could put on some muscle mass, but you're probably going to put on some body fat as well. But you got to be eating the right amounts of foods in the right balance. Okay. So protein and carbs are like the two most important things, especially if you are on the side of I'm trying to lose body fat and you are, I'm going to talk about training, but you're training 4 to 6 days a week. You need to be getting in enough protein to maintain your lean muscle mass or build lean muscle mass if you're on the underside, and enough carbohydrates to fuel your training. Okay, your muscles are fueled by glycogen that comes from carbohydrates. So in an ideal situation, you would be on a higher protein, higher carb diet and a lower fat diet if your goal is fat loss. Okay, if your goal is I want to start to see the definition, I want to maintain my muscle while I'm seeing things. And I think this is where so many people go wrong because they focus on the carbs, because the carbs typically when you cut them out, you'll see an initial drop on the scale. But what you are literally seeing is a depletion of muscle glycogen. Okay, so your muscles that are full are now being turned into prunes. Like you're doing the exact opposite of what you want. In fact, you will also see, if I go back to the bodybuilding world, some bodybuilders will, just before they get on show, will carb load a little bit. They will deplete carbs. I'm going to do a little bit of carb loading. Why? Because it tightens the muscles. It makes the muscles pop. And the analogy that Lane Norton gave me in one of my seminars was, imagine you have like a balloon and it's like not filled with air. Okay, like now imagine a balloon that you fill with air and it's super tight. And then now imagine like you like are like you're running your finger along the inside of it and how you'll be able to see it and how like the shape of it is like so like it's tight. That's what bodybuilders are looking for. Obviously, you don't want to be round like a balloon, but you want your muscles to do that. Okay, so protein and carbs are the key. Hormone balance is another really important thing. Okay, so I don't want you blaming the hormones. This is go back to my last week's episode. Okay, I don't want you blaming the hormones, but doing the things that keep your hormones in check to allow your body to regulate insulin and cortisol, which are going to help you to build muscle and lose fat. Okay, we need to keep those hormones in balance. That means prioritizing sleep. Guys, I cannot tell you, sleep is my non-negotiable. If you know me, if you're in my life, you know that I do not like to skip my sleep. I like to make sure that I am in bed at a normal time. I will protect my sleep no matter what, because sleep is so important. As I'm getting ready to enter my 40s, I am going to do whatever I can to arm myself to be healthier in my 40s than I was in the tail end of my 30s, because the tail end of my 30s were pretty much shit. Okay, so hormone balance is so important. Sleep and stress management. We cannot remove stress from life, but we need to learn how to manage it. Okay. If you're too stressed, your body is not going to absorb nutrients as well. You're not going to have the training response that you're looking for. So if your goals are body recomposition, changing your body composition, these things are factors. And it's not just, oh, I'm just going to like start meditating every single day and add, or, wake up an hour early to do that, but then I'm going to be losing sleep. Like, it's just looking at little things that you can do throughout the day. Sometimes it's literally just eating enough. Believe it or not, sometimes eating enough makes everything so much better. You feel better. And then let's talk about training. Okay, training is really important. Now, training is very specific to where you are at in your training journey. No matter what your goals are, whether it's you're trying to lose body fat or you are someone that's trying to build muscle, y'all need to be lifting weights. Okay. Like the answer is always lift weights. Okay. So, like, if there is one thing you can commit to for the rest of your life, even if you didn't change a thing with your nutrition because you don't care about changing your body composition or your health, like if you're lifting weights, you're probably going to do yourself pretty good. The balance of weightlifting to cardio is what typically we want to see change. And there are some strategies that I like to use for those of you guys that are looking for body recomp and you are carrying a little bit of extra body fat. Okay. So, first and foremost, everybody's lifting weights. If your goal is you are under muscled, you probably need to be lifting a little bit more. Again, training age really dictates what this looks like. If you've never lifted before in your life, lifting 3 times a week is a big change from your current routine. If you're already training 4 to 5 times a week, it's looking at what does the volume of my training look like? What does the intensity of my training look like? And making tweaks to that. So let's talk specific to training because I think this is kind of where in body recomp, guys, it's very complicated. It's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Okay, so training, I think a lot of people like to focus so much on intensity, and this is big in CrossFit. Hitting new PRs is super fun, right? Like it's super fun to be like, oh my God, I lifted an extra 5 pounds today that I did last time. That's great. But when it comes to body recomposition, reps and volume are the key. And you can do this in CrossFit. It just means you have to understand how to apply yourself appropriately to the metabolic conditioning pieces that incorporate weights. If you're not doing a program like CrossFit, it just means you have to understand what it looks like to build hypertrophy into your training with the right intensity. Okay, so whether you're doing it, and I'm going to explain this, it's pretty much the same. CrossFit is hypertrophy work, guys. If you're doing 21-15-9 of thrusters, or you're doing 21-15-9 of like leg extensions and chest presses, like you're still doing 21-15-9 of something. One is just going to create more of a neurological response, which is going to have more bang for your buck, aka CrossFit. It's going to cause more of an anabolic response, easier to build muscle tissue. So I'll save that for another episode though. But you want to be getting in the right volume and the right intensity. If you see a rep scheme of 21-15-9 and you're doing sets of 3, you're now no longer doing hypertrophy work. You're now doing, strength work at that point. Strength work does not always correlate to muscle gains. We want to get stronger, right? We do. That's going to also give us an anabolic response that we need to build muscle tissue. But the sweet spot is also working in some hypertrophy work. So you need to have the right dose of volume and not always looking for like 1 reps all the time. It's actually not maxing out all the time. It's actually doing a lot of interval type stuff where you're maybe going at 70 to 80% of maxes and you're doing it for like 5 to 8 reps or 12 to 15 reps and things like that. Those are the things that really give you the most bang for your buck in your training. Now, I'll be honest, I was talking to a couple of weightlifters on Saturday. I was doing a really challenging workout and they were just snatching and cleaning and squatting and taking plenty of rest between. And I'm like dying on the bike erg. And I'm like, this is where weightlifting looks really good because you can take all that rest and all that kinds of stuff. Listen, if your goals are fat loss, like the interval training is going to give you more bang for your buck. Cardio gets such a bad rap. Okay. I can talk about the over abuse or overuse of cardio, but doing interval training is way more impactful than doing short, intense workouts, and also avoiding it altogether or doing a lot of long, slow cardio. So what I mean by interval training is, so common CrossFit workouts, 21-15-9 rep schemes, where you're literally working out for 4 minutes. Okay. You're going to get a lot of intensity in 4 minutes, but you're not getting a whole bunch of volume. So for body recomposition, what I personally think is better is doing repeatable intervals of that. And you're going to have to take the intensity down in each interval, which means the movements might be a little bit different. Your scaling options might be a little bit different. But so for instance, the workout that always comes to mind with me is Fran, 21-15-9 thrusters and pull-ups. If you want to test your Fran time, you're testing your fitness, right? How fast can I do these 2 movements under stress, right? Fastest times are like 2 minutes. Average time is probably 5 minutes. You shouldn't be doing it for more than 10 minutes. But when it comes to body recomposition and especially fat loss goals, what would be really impactful for you in a training perspective environment might be doing 21-15-9 of a lighter weight thruster and a pull-up variation that you can repeat 45 reps of for 3 sets. And you're like, oh my God, that sounds horrible. But think about the different volume exposure that you're getting on your muscle groups. And that's where like you can start to make some more gains and also work more cardio in. So it's actually like doing both. You're getting more muscle gains, but you're also getting a little bit of cardio. Okay. So that can make cardio a little bit more exciting. I do think that people on the fat loss X spectrum need to make sure they are prioritizing a little bit more cardio if you're not already doing some form of cardio. A lot of times people aren't getting in enough, and that alone can help. Even if it's as simple as doing more walking, like being more active in your day. I see this all the time. People are looking to lose fat, but they're like not even walking 5,000 steps a day. Like just increase your step count. This is not going to be stressful on your body. And it's also going to help you to lose fat a little bit easier. It's going to help you create that calorie deficit. So let's talk about some misconceptions here that I wanted to really point out on body recomposition. Okay. I think that people also think that body recomposition is just like this linear journey of like A to Z. Okay. Normally, this happens in one of two ways. Okay. So one way is a person has been training for years. They've like been training for a long time. Their nutrition is like subpar. Like they're probably carrying maybe 15, 20-ish pounds of body fat. Maybe they've leaned out a little bit here and there, but they've never actually maintained it. You've got so much muscle already on you that it literally is like short term, rip the Band-Aid off, lose the fat, keep it off. It's finding that sustainable change to your diet that you can just quickly get the weight down and then maintain it, shifting into maintenance. But what you don't see is you typically will see this person say, hey, here was day 1 of my fat loss journey. Here was day 90 of my fat loss journey. You don't see the 8 to 10 years of them training a certain way with all of this volume and hypertrophy work and intensity and volume and all this stuff that happened to get them there, right? So this is where I mentioned, like, no matter what you're doing, working out is the answer and strength training is the answer. Okay. So like, let's just start with that. You'll see that's like one case scenario. So I don't want you to think that that's going to happen to you if you have not been putting in the time and effort on the muscle. Now, if you're like, yeah, that's me. I have the muscle tissue. I've built up a good amount of strength. I want to get shredded now. I don't even like to use the word shredded, but like I want to get a little bit leaner. I want to see some definition. I don't want to take my performance. I don't want to feel like shit. I don't want to be dieting. Then it's like, let's get you through a period of fat loss and get you maintaining it. If you are somebody who is under muscled, this is the hardest thing, okay? You are not going to achieve that body in 90 days. It's not going to happen, okay? You cannot go from having fat loss is like so quick compared to muscle gains. Like it takes so long to build muscle. I mean, when I first started my CrossFit journey, I was 100 pounds soaking wet. And it took me probably a good 5 years to actually, I think, reach close to my genetic potential on muscle gains. And I was also eating in a severe calorie surplus because I didn't care about my nutrition. I mean, I thought I cared about my nutrition, but I was doing it all the wrong way. So you have to realize that it's going to take time and you have to be committed to putting in the work like those other people did. And that does come with making sure that you're spending a long amount of time eating at maintenance. You cannot keep going into fat loss if you don't have enough muscle tissue. You are never going to get the body that you want. You have got to get to a place where you are comfortable maintaining your weight, staying consistent with your training, and eating enough food to fuel it. All right. And for those of you guys that do get to where you're already where you want to be and you're happy with your body, that's how you need to transition. So no matter where you are, like you have to learn to start from understanding what your maintenance needs are so that you can adjust off of that. So long story short of misconceptions is that if you need to build some muscle tissue, it's not going to happen in 90 days. You're committed to the long haul. You will still spend periods in fat loss, just like those of you guys that have muscle tissue and need to lose a little bit of body fat, but you need to be committed to the lifestyle changes. In fact, on both ends of the spectrum, you need to be committed to the lifestyle changes. I could go off on a tangent right now because I've been thinking about this recently about like what I really stand for in the nutrition coaching space. And there's a lot of there's no right or wrong in the nutrition space. Everybody's speaking to a different outcome. My outcome for my clients is I preach health, fitness, and longevity. And part of that is being in a body that you feel confident about. So body fat percentage is a piece of that. It's not a specific number. It's looking in the mirror and being confident. It's a maintainable body composition where you can still live your life and enjoy playing with your kids or going on dates with your husband, but also you value what you're eating and what you're doing in the gym. I am not the kind of person that's oh, you don't have to work out. I'm no, you need to be in the gym 4 to 5 days a week. That's part of being a healthy individual is you move your body daily. You need to make movement a priority. You need to make cooking for yourself a priority. I'm going off on a tangent. It's just because I like kind of doing these free form. I don't know. It just gets me going. So let's talk about some mistakes as I'm talking about longevity and all of that kinds of stuff that people tend to make when they're trying to body recomp. And this is actually not just with body recomp, with fat loss in general. Okay. So number one is fasting, right? Fasting is doing you no good. All right. It's dysregulating your blood sugar. It's leading to a poor relationship with food. Let's talk about longevity. Your kid wants you to go for pizza with him, but you're I'm sorry, I don't eat after 4 p.m. Come on. Okay. You're likely not getting nutrients at the right time if you're not timing them around your workouts. And it's not really what causes any changes anyways. It's just a strategy to help you guys control your calories more. So why do it? Okay. You don't need to be fasting around your workouts. In fact, it doesn't make any sense when food is energy, if food and calories is actually energy, why would you fast before the time and after the time that you are most active in your day when you're burning the most energy? That just does not make any sense. Logically, you can hear that and think that. Another one is crash dieting. Okay, so I remember working with a client years and years ago at a CrossFit gym, and he was about 240, and over the matter of about 60 days, he was under 200 pounds. And I was not the one pushing that. I kept telling him to eat more. He was under eating, but he was happy with the progress. When we rechecked his body fat, he had lost over 40 pounds, but he was the exact same body fat percentage. Why? Because he lost a lot of muscle tissue because he was chasing the scale. So he became a smaller version of his fat self. Nobody wants to lose weight to be the same fat. Does that make any sense? No. Crash dieting is horrible. Not getting in enough protein is a huge thing here. If you're not eating protein, your body is not getting the essential amino acids it needs to build and maintain the muscle mass. So we need to make sure we're getting enough protein. Another one is too much cardio and not doing enough strength training. So this is where going back to the fat loss, if your goals are body recomp and you have muscle and you're looking to lean out, I highly recommend more interval style training with weights because it gives your body the signal that you're carrying an external load. Okay. Your body does adapt to cardio very quickly, and muscle is expensive. Okay. So when we think about muscle versus fat as tissue, remember that fat is stored energy. So it's kind of like gas in your car. It's a reserve of gas. Muscle is the engine, and it's sucking all of the energy. So when there's not enough gas in the car, the body is going to start to get rid of the things that is causing it so much energy suck, which is your muscle tissue. Okay. So we don't want that to happen. So we want to make sure that we're eating the right amounts of foods. We're not doing too much cardio, but we're doing enough. And the other one is too much intensity in your training. I kind of already touched on this when I talked about the example of kind of going from a 21-15-9 one and done into let's do it 3 times around, because the intensity piece could also be spiking cortisol too much. And obviously, if you're not eating enough and all of that kind of stuff, it can cause other issues, and you're not getting enough volume, so you get in more volume, you get more bang for your buck in your gym if you do that kinds of stuff. Okay. So we want to make sure that we have the right amount of intensity, the right amount of volume, not too much cardio, enough weightlifting. It's literally, you have to become your own personal chef. You are literally the maker of your body, essentially, when you are looking for body recomp. And then I want to go over 2 final points today before I hang up today. I'm on a phone call right now. And if you guys have questions, I'm going to look over Instagram. I don't see anybody posting Instagram questions here, but if you guys do have questions, I do bodybuilding? I do bodybuilding actually, but not not specific. I don't do like bodybuilding to be a bodybuilder. I do specific movements as I've gotten more advanced in CrossFit to work on muscle imbalances. So like I do a lot more single leg work, single arm work to improve different things. And also like sometimes the stress of CrossFit, I do want to make sure that I'm strengthening a lot of those small muscle groups. I do a lot of strict movements to make sure that when I'm kipping, I don't hurt myself. So that was a good question. I'm glad I popped over there. Let's talk about two big myths with body recomposition. This coffee is delicious. All right. One of them is spot reduction. Okay. I want to get leaner, but I don't want to lose my ass. I just want to lose my belly. I want to lose the layer of fat here. You cannot spot reduce, guys. I don't want to lose this. I want to lose that. It don't work that way. Your body genetically is designed to lose fat wherever it loses fat first. I will say this. The adipose tissue in your abdomen has 3 times the amount of cortisol receptors than anywhere else in your body, which means that you are more likely to store fat in your belly if you are under more stress. That is a true statement. However, it doesn't change the fact that your body is going to lose weight wherever it loses weight. Genetically, that's just the way it's going to be. Okay. So you cannot spot reduce things. No amount of exercises in the world is going to help you lose fat anywhere. You can certainly target muscle groups to build muscle there, but doing all the abs in the world is not going to make your abs show if you still have fat on them. It's just the way it is. And everybody's going to have to get to a different leanness for that. For your legs, I get this all the time. Like women wanting to lose their I don't even know what to call it. But this is so bad. I don't know what terminologies to use right now, but like women struggle with the fat below their butt, like that little, what do they call them? Saddlebags? I don't freaking know. Whatever shitty term they used to use when I was in the 90s. But the jiggly legs, okay? Like you can't like spot reduce that stuff. So you can work to build muscle, and someone like you need to be doing more glute exercise. You need to be doing things to grow that. But to lose the fat, you're going to have to create a calorie deficit and see what actually is underneath that, right? So let's see what kind of muscle you have. The second myth is like, I just want to get toned. Ooh, I just want to tone up. Like, guys, that's losing fat. It's losing fat and building muscle. It's knowing where you're on the spectrum. Okay. If you are spaghetti arms and spaghetti legs and you got no definition in your belly, you probably need to be lifting some weights and eating a little bit more. If you are feeling pretty thick, but feeling pretty strong, you probably need to be cutting a little bit. That's all toning is. There's no secret to it. So whatever you want to call it, that's what it is. I think the other thing I should put in here is I get some women that talk about like lengthening. They want to lengthen their muscles. Guys, you cannot lengthen your muscles, right? You like, there's no training that is going to make you look long and lean. Like I have a short ass torso. I'm always going to have a short ass torso. I am never going to have a freaking hourglass waist. I was not genetically blessed with an hourglass waist because I am short torsoed and long legged and I'm short and it sucks, but it is what it is. I can't do anything about it. It doesn't matter how lean I get or what training I do. I'm always going to look that way. Okay. So, all of this, guys, a long discussion on body recomp. I'm going to head back over to Instagram. Do y'all have any other questions? Do you have recommendation tests to check cortisol levels and inflammation? Felice, do I have questions? So Felice asked, do you have recommended tests to check cortisol levels and inflammation? So your C-reactive protein is a good number to check. Whenever people ask me about lab work, I always say start with a general profile first. But when I say general profile, I am not talking about just your basics from the doctor. I would definitely get your complete metabolic panel, a lipid panel. You can write this down: complete metabolic panel, lipid panel, your CBC, your complete blood count. Those are like some basics. You also would like to do a thyroid panel to check like TSH, free T4, free T3, vitamin B. So if you're writing all these down, that's great. From there, I would go into some more specifics for hormones and inflammation. The C-reactive protein, I would go into sex hormones if you are over 30 for sure, and you are looking to maybe optimize anything there. So like testosterone, estradiol, your estrogen levels, and then your FSH, your LH, having a sex hormone profile done. This is like a good idea to get done for anybody that wants to get like under the hood and see everything. Cortisol levels are hard to test by blood. typically what you'll see is they'll do an AM cortisol level with blood, which is totally fine. It's a great place to start. But the best cortisol test is a cortisol curve, and that's done by saliva, where you'll do like 4-point, it's called a 4-point cortisol test. But I would only, guys, and this is the thing about testing. If you suspect that your body's under stress, it's probably under stress. So rather than going and spending all of this money on testing, like the solution is going to be the same thing. It's literally dialing in your nutrition, dialing in your stress levels, dialing in your training. So rather than spending all the money on the tests that are going to tell you that you have to change that shit anyways, change the shit and see if things get better. So hopefully that helps you out, Felice. Save you some money. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. Do I have any other questions while I'm on here? I'm going to go back to Instagram. You guys have any other questions for me? Nutrition, training, life. You're so welcome, Felice. You have any other questions? Anybody have questions? Body recomposition, getting ready for the CrossFit Games Open. What's going on with my own journey? I'm not going to talk about me today. I am going to talk about one thing about me, but it has nothing to do with me. Guys, let me end on this, okay? I was going through a really tough time for the last 2 years of my life, and I don't talk about it very often. And like over the last couple of weeks specifically, I have been feeling so much more like myself again, but the dark times were pretty fucking dark. Okay. Like it was pretty bad. And I'm starting with this because in those times, I had a lot of people in my life trying to tell me what I needed to be doing. So it was like telling me I need to be, and I got your question, Lita. I'll answer that in a second. I'm going to finish my story. Telling me that I need to be doing things differently. I need to be, like telling me I shouldn't be working out. I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be doing that. I am so happy that I did not listen to anybody else's opinion but my own. Because on the other side of me sticking to the commitments that I made to myself, I am finally feeling like myself again. Okay, so if you struggle with that, just want to share that with you. Because I'm feeling like it was the right thing. And I know that a lot of the people that had opinions, they thought that they knew what they were talking about, but they didn't know what they were talking about. They were just giving their opinions. And I truly feel like I made the right decision by having the people that have been helping me, and I couldn't be more happy. And it sucks coming back from what I've been going through, but it is what it is. So Kit Kat Mom, my favorite, Lita, I think you're in El Salvador right now. Oh my God, I'm so happy to see you on here. What does Zone 2 training help with? This is a great question. Zone 2 training can actually help with body recomp a little bit if you are looking to lose body fat, because honestly, it's a way to burn a little extra calories, so you don't have to decrease your calorie intake. You can just do that way, but you can also see improvements in recovery in your aerobic base. So people that do a little bit more Zone 2 training tend to have a little bit more endurance in workouts. I think it does help a lot with pacing, because when you learn what your easy pace is, it allows you to kind of know like your gears in workouts and really helps you moderate things. Zone 2 training does help, I believe, personally with stress response. I think that Zone 2 training is a lot less stressful. So if you've been doing a lot of intensity, balancing it out with some of that lower intensity stuff is really good for your central nervous system. But the biggest thing is that it does really help with your aerobic base. That's the main thing. So follow you all over the world. That's a cool name. All right. Well, guys, I'm going to head off. If you guys have any other questions, please pop them up here. Oh, you know what? Maybe I will just answer one more question that I did have, and then I'll pop off. One other question that I did have was, I'm going to go ahead and open it right now. I saw this and I'm going to answer it on here and then send it to her. The question was, okay, this is a great question. Ladies, help me. Give me your best tips and advice on how to cut, quote unquote, deficit mode without a nutrition coach, no macro counting. I really suck at entering all the food information. It takes too much of my time, and eating the same food every day. I tend to go rogue even if I eat the same thing every day. I see fat over muscles, and I know I need to cut around 8 to 10 pounds to be at my healthy range. So essentially, body recomp is what she's looking for. Well, I'm going to be honest. You're going to need to do one of these three things. I don't think you can get away with doing none of them. Okay. So, when it comes to doing this without a nutrition coach, you totally can. I would recommend, you can reach out and I can give you a macro calculation to understand and we'll talk about macro counting in a second, where you should be for maintenance and then also for fat loss. You're going to need to know that and how to tweak that. You don't have to use a macro counter in order to quote unquote hit your macros or be eating your calorie needs. However, you need to have a system, and that system typically means that you are repeating meals over and over again. So when you talk about not wanting to eat the same food every day, you might not have to eat the same food every single day, but you want to have food buckets that are interchangeable. So the best way to do this would be like to know where your calories and macros should be, but also to know where your food buckets are to fill those. And I think sticking to a consistent nutrition plan. So like I eat 5 times a day and each meal is about, so if your calorie needs were 1800 calories, each meal is 500 calories and each snack is 150 calories, and you're eyeballing things and you're getting enough protein at those. And you kind of know intuitively or based on your buckets where those should be. That's not going to get you the fastest results, but that's probably going to be very easy to apply. And if you're not doing anything right now, that will probably create some pretty quick wins. So that is something that I did want to go ahead and answer for you. And hopefully that does help. But at the end of the day, guys, I think people overemphasize macro counting. You really don't need to be counting macros. The goal is to track your food so you can kind of see balance of your meals. And you can also keep an eye on your overall calorie intake, your macro balance, and your protein intake. So making sure that you're getting in enough carbs, enough protein, not too much fat. And that's usually what I recommend for all of my clients without going crazy. Usually if people suck at entering their food, like it's because they're eating entirely too frequently, like they're not logging all their BLTs, or they're just eating meals that are entirely too many ingredients. So hopefully that helped you out. I'm going to hop off now though, guys. I think it was a good way to start the day. If you guys have any other topics or questions you guys want, feel free to shoot them over to me and I'll talk to you guys all next week.